Welcome, my friend. Tonight, I invite you to slow down, take a breath, and listen to a story that might just touch your heart. The bridge had no name, just steel and rust stretched across a muddy river outside Da Nang. In 1970, it was little more than a skeleton, half destroyed by bombings, yet still standing like everything else that refused to fall. Private Thomas Reed crouched behind a pile of sandbags, rain dripping from the brim of his helmet. His squad had been ambushed that morning. Now there were only two of them left, him and Corporal Miller, who lay bleeding beside a broken radio. The bridge was their only way out. "Tom," Miller's voice was barely a whisper, "you have to go." Thomas shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." The rain came down harder, drowning out everything else. The jungle across the river was alive with sound, voices, movement, the echo of boots on wet ground. The Viet Cong were closing in. Thomas checked his rifle. One magazine left. He looked down at Miller, whose uniform was soaked red. "You won't make it carrying me," Miller said, coughing. "You know that." Thomas didn't answer. He tore a strip of fabric from his sleeve and tied it around Miller's arm, trying to stop the bleeding. "Just hold on," he said. "You'll see the sun tomorrow." But Miller was already slipping away. His eyes stared past Thomas, unfocused, like he was already seeing home. When the gunfire started again, Thomas dragged Miller's body to cover and returned fire. The sound of bullets against metal echoed like thunder. Then through the haze he saw something, a figure moving along the far side of the bridge. Not a soldier, a woman. She wore a tattered brown owl dye, her face pale beneath the rain. In her arms she carried a small bundle wrapped in cloth. A baby. Thomas hesitated. "Hey! Stop! It's not safe!" he shouted, but his words were swallowed by the storm. The woman didn't stop. She walked slowly, carefully, one step after another across the broken bridge, her bare feet slipping on the wet steel. A shot rang out. She flinched, falling to one knee. The baby cried. Without thinking, Thomas ran. He sprinted through the rain, bullets slicing the air around him. He reached her just as she collapsed, clutching the child tight against her chest. Her eyes met his, full of fear, full of something else. She whispered a word he didn't understand, then pressed the baby into his arms. "Please," she said in broken English. "You keep him safe." Thomas looked down at the crying child, then back at the woman, but she was gone. Her hands slipped away, her face peaceful beneath the rain. Gunfire roared behind him. Thomas turned, cradling the baby against his chest, and ran. He crossed what was left of the bridge, slipping, falling, but never letting go. When he reached the other side, he dove behind a fallen log. The baby cried softly. Thomas looked at the child, tiny, fragile, wrapped in soaked cloth. He whispered, "It's okay. You're safe now." That night, when the rain finally stopped, an American patrol found him by the river, exhausted and half conscious. In his arms was the child. They took them both back to camp. Weeks passed. Thomas recovered from his wounds, but the baby, the one he called Ben, stayed with him. The camp's medic wanted to send the child to an orphanage, but Thomas refused. "He's my responsibility," he said simply. When his tour ended, Thomas filled out every piece of paperwork, fought every bit of red tape, until finally, in 1971, he boarded a plane home with the boy in his arms. Years later, in a quiet town in Oregon, neighbors would see a man sitting on his porch every evening, watching the sunset with a young boy beside him. They never knew their story, only that every time it rained, the man would stare out the window, silent and distant, his hand gently resting on the child's shoulder. In 1993, when Thomas passed away, the boy, now a grown man, returned to Vietnam. He carried with him a small box containing a folded American flag, a photograph of Thomas, and a note that read, "For the woman who gave me life and the man who gave me home." He found the ruins of the old bridge near Da Nang, rebuilt now, crowded with scooters and children laughing in the rain. He stood there for a long time, letting the rain wash over his face. Then, carefully, he opened the box and set it down by the riverbank. The flag fluttered in the wind. The photograph grew damp. The river carried the note away. Somewhere beneath the surface, two stories, one of war, one of mercy, became one. And when the storm passed, the sun broke through the clouds, glinting off the steel of the bridge like the promise of something eternal. A memory, a kindness, a bridge that never truly fell.